You're listening to the Mountainside Podcast, and our returning guest for this episode is my friend Jay Steinberg. Jay recorded with us when we first started this podcast. He was episode 2. He's been a friend of mine for a long time, but above all that, he's an absolute savage and just a great person. He's an ultramarathon runner, high endurance athlete. It's always good having Jay in studio. It was a great conversation, and I hope you enjoy it.
What's up, Bobby?
Awesome to have you back in here.
Yeah, it's
dude.
good.
Like, it's been a minute. I think one of the coolest things is you were episode 2.
I was.
So you saw us in our infancy when I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So, yeah, we had a rough ride on that one. So I feel like I've owed you one since then, and I'm super happy to have you back, dude.
It's all good. I'm excited.
Yeah. How's life been, man? You've been busy. I know you've been traveling a little bit.
Been traveling. Family keeps me busy. Training.
Yeah.
It's enough to keep me out of trouble.
Where you would just did an Ironman or something in Mexico. We were talking just before we hit record here, and
I was down in Mexico. I did my first Ironman distance triathlon.
nice. What does that entail? It's a swim, run, bike, or is it?
So it's a 2.4 mile swim.
Okay.
And I really wanted a ocean swim for my first, full Ironman. It just seemed right. And then it's followed by 112 miles on the bike. And then you run a full marathon to close it out.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's a good stint. Where was it exactly?
Cozumel, Mexico.
Oh, nice. Was the weather nice? You're looking pretty tan there.
It was warm for a Colorado guy. A little humid for my taste, but yeah, beautiful weather. Spent 6 days down. It's amazing how much goes into it, and you've got meetings and bike drop off and a practice swim and all of these different things you have to get done. So we were down, I think, for 4 days before the race.
Nice. Get acclimated a little bit too. I'm sure that helps. Huh?
It was nice. We were able to ride the course. And kind of check out the bike course. And
how many laps is that? Because you're doing laps at that island at that point, right?
Yeah, the bike is more or less 3 laps.
Okay.
So it's 40 miles. So from where the race starts, it's not a full lap to get to the finish.
Do you have to travel down there with your own bikes and stuff? Did you fly with them?
I flew with my bike in a case and was very nervous because I've seen them loading those planes before.
Oh, those guys do not give a shit.
No,
Yeah.
no. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of gear to get down there. But we just had a blast. Two other friends of mine came down, who were experienced Ironmen. So it was nice. I asked them a million questions and what do we do here and how does this work? So it's nice having some support down there.
Yeah, hell yeah. And what, as far as like getting in the ocean and stuff or the water, it's the Pacific, right? On that side?
It's the Caribbean.
The Caribbean.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not too bad then.
No, the water was
temperature's
warm.
a little bit warmer.
Yeah, the water was warm.
Wetsuits full on?
No wetsuits because the water's warm enough.
Yeah.
So you're wearing a speed suit, a skin suit.
And then when you get out of the water, is there time to change or are you just full on like running off the beach Navy SEAL style and getting after it?
Yeah, it was long. It was about a quarter of a mile from getting out of the water to where you could, mount your bike and get on your bike. So I put on socks and put on my cycling shoes and helmet and was pretty much out of there. I think I spent 8 minutes maybe in that first transition zone.
Man, I don't know how you do it, dude.
Absolute animal.
Yeah.
I know dudes who used to train for to do centuries on road bikes. Like they would train to do it, and you're knocking out that on top of a swim and a run.
Yeah.
It's absolute madman shit, dude. I
actually need some advice because I'm not much of a runner. I hate to run. And I want to work on a goal. Like one of the things that I'm working on right now, fitness-wise, is I want to be able to do the Murph Challenge in under an hour, that's a fucking feat for me,
that's
right?
Serious.
So I need to get better. Like I could probably run a 10-minute mile right now, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
but I know that you're a run coach and you've done these incredible runs like Ironmans, the Bighorn, you're ultra runner. How do you ramp yourself up? Like starting, because that's what I'm doing is it's a mile run before the circuit and then it's a mile run after. But if you wanted to run a mile as fast as you possibly can, how do you build up to that? And what kind of training regimen? Should I be full on like sprinting?
Well, that's why I'm an ultra runner, because I can't run fast.
Okay.
I think it's a lot of interval work, and going on the track and, starting at that 10-minute mile and not going out there on day one thinking, I'm going to run, 800 meters full out, right? Start running them at 9:30, then go to a 9 and keep working up. It's, like anything physically or in endurance wise, it takes a long time to get there.
Right. Yeah, I've noticed that with the push-ups, because I'm trying to get 200 push-ups within like 20 minutes, right? And I've been working on that pretty heavily in the air squats, but I fucked up my shoulder doing it because I was just going too hard, too fast. Like, I think I need to build into it a little bit slower. So now I have this residual pain I got to go get looked at, just because, I don't know, I think I fucking tore something. I hope it's not bad.
I think that's the problem for a lot of people that are really motivated, and I think...
Well, I'm not really motivated.
Well, and I think a lot of people who are trying to find a fitness routine as well go all out right from the get-go, right? You're motivated. We're coming up to the new year, and people want to get in shape, and they want to, start to build those healthy habits. And people realize that you got to the point where you are now over a long period of time. So if you want to get very, very fit, it's going to take you a long period of time to get there. It doesn't happen.
Right. And it's
overnight.
putting in that daily work too, I think, man. Or that's what I've noticed. Like if I skip a couple days, it's almost like starting over again sometimes for me.
It's interesting. I heard a story about a personal trainer who started working with this guy. And for the first 6 months, the guy went to the gym for 5 minutes. Went to the locker room, got dressed, could be on the gym floor for 5 minutes.
Really?
Would go back to the locker room, change back, and leave. And all it did was build that habit.
Right. Because anybody could do 5 minutes, right?
Right.
Like that's simple, right? It's when you go in there and you're trying to pound out an hour, hour and a half, it gets monotonous, right? At some point, or life gets in the way, especially when you have kids or something like that, right?
Scott Adams talked about that. I don't know if that's who you're talking about, but it's building up that habit. And if you can get that routine down, then
just a disciplined routine, right?
That's the part that's lacking in everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now for me, one of the hardest things to do is take a full day off.
Right.
A full day off for me might just be strength training.
Yeah.
Or it might be going and, training jiu-jitsu and that's more or less a day off, but it's hard to sit around when you get to a certain point, and that just becomes what you do, and it's what makes you the person you are.
Well, it's so good for me mentally too, like I think that the days that I don't do something, whether it's jiu-jitsu, which I haven't rolled in a long time, if I don't go shoot my bow, if I'm not out, like definitely love going to the gym and lifting. It's like, that's my one thing. But if I don't at least get that in or go do a quick kettlebell workout or something, I am not a happy dude.
And that's why I like to get it in the morning.
Yeah.
Go first thing. Nobody can take it away from you then. Work doesn't get in the way. Family doesn't get in the way. That's at 5:30 in the morning. It's tough to have any distractions.
Right.
And during the week, we do a 5:30 run. And we only run for an hour, which kind of sucks because the first 45 minutes of my workout just hurt.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still tight and I'm loosening up.
You're just getting warmed up by the time it's time to call it.
But I go with some buddies and it's my social time. It's, time out in the woods on the trails. It's, it's just a good way to start your day and start off really focused. And
no, I think that, I prefer to do mine in the morning too, although lately I've been more, I don't know. I've changed my whole diet regimen and stuff. And I like going a little bit more in the afternoon just to break up my day because I have some long days ahead of me to where I'm busy with the podcast, busy with live production now that it's back, busy with some other side projects I got going on, and then the family, right? So it's like if I go in the middle of the day, I found I'm actually more happy because if I start first thing in the morning, I have all that shit in my head, like I got to get this accomplished today, and I don't spend as much time. But if I get some of that out of the way, it's been my new routine. Like, okay, I'll go to the gym at 10 o'clock. And then I've also found that there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice,
That's a
right?
positive.
So there's nobody in your way. You're not waiting to get on a machine or waiting for, like I've been doing the Aerodyne bike and the rower. The thing's always fucking taken because there's one of each, right? It's not like, and then there's 49 ellipticals, of course. But yeah, I like getting out and hiking and doing that sort of stuff too, but like if I work out in the morning and then do a hike in the afternoon or something like that, that's always awesome too, especially this time of year.
And I always like to sneak in a lunch workout. Caffeine only has so much of an effect on you, but a workout at lunch, I'm twice as productive in the afternoon.
Yeah,
like
I really am too.
Fuel.
Yeah. I've been tailoring my caffeine too, so I won't do my caffeine until like almost afternoon, like after my workout. Well, or sometimes I do it before. It depends on when I'm going, but generally, I've been listening to Andrew Huberman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard any of his stuff, and he's a neuroscientist, and I strongly suggest if you haven't listened to Andrew Huberman, you're listening to this right now, go check it out, Huberman Labs. He's got a ton of different subjects on a multitude of stuff, and I don't listen to him enough, but one of the things I picked up from him was caffeine use and what happens to your body with chemicals that are released in your brain. If you wake up first thing in the morning and pound coffee, it sets I guess there's some sort of chemical, and Jeremy, you might have to look this up. Just go listen to Andrew Huberman. You don't have to look this up. I'm not a neuroscientist. He is. But yeah, it does something to where you start to crash in the afternoon because it's something with your circadian clock and what dopamine is released and when dopamine is released. And then there's also some other chemical that's in your brain from that. So he's like, the best thing that you can do, so like you going on a morning run, is going out into sunlight for 10 to 15 minutes and have something moving in your peripheral.
Right.
So he's like, go on a walk, go for a run. And the faster stuff's moving in your peripheral, the more receptors are going off in your brain, the more dopamine it's releasing, all this crazy science behind why you feel good after you get out of the gym or if you do that first thing in the morning. But I found like caffeine doesn't really affect me. I mean, I'm drinking this now to the point where I can go to sleep. I could go to sleep in an hour if I wanted to.
Here you go. It's 1 minute.
I've learned to push. I hydrate first thing in the morning. I get sunlight. I get a walk. And that's really fundamental for me because I'm at the computer a lot of the day. And then I've pushed my caffeine intake out about 90 minutes to 2 hours because of the way the caffeine interacts with the adenosine receptor. You can avoid the afternoon crash if you allow your sleep to completely clear your adenosine and not block those receptors. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are waking up sleep deprived, just a little bit sleep deprived, drinking coffee, blocking their adenosine receptors, and then in the afternoon they crash when the adenosine dislodges from the adenosine receptor because the adenosine makes us sleepy. So if you push your caffeine intake out a little bit, what's interesting is even though you're not sleeping during that time, there's some evidence, and Matt Walker and I are talking about this because there's more that needs to be done, but that the adenosine continues to be cleared in a way that it can't if you're drinking caffeine early. So I do that and it really helps.
It's made a night and day difference with me. Adenosine. No wonder I didn't remember that.
I listened to that. I had heard that.
Yeah, he's a savage, man.
Coffee gets me out of bed in the morning.
Does it?
It really does.
Yeah. Something about the smell. I set it up so that it 5:30 in the morning it's brewing, and I'm up at 5:45.
I found since I'm doing this, there's days where I just totally skip it though, and I'm like, I'm bummed, because I'll be like, fuck, man, I forgot to drink coffee today, dude.
Yeah.
Like, Yeah, I love
treat,
coffee,
morning
man.
treat.
But I used to get up first thing in the morning, put the coffee pot on or do a pour over or whatever. And I was drinking a lot, dude. And I've tailored it back to like
you do it
one
in the
cup.
morning?
So what I've been doing is I'll get up. So it's still kind of part of my routine. I'll do my protein shake or whatever I'm having for breakfast, if anything at all. Typically, I've been pounding the Element salts lately.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've had any of those. Those things are awesome. So I do salt like first thing in the morning, so I have something to just hydrate. And then I'll brew the coffee, but then I put it in an Nalgene bottle and throw it in the refrigerator because I like iced coffee. So I've been getting Black Rifle sends us some coffee. So I've been using their Black Rifle Espresso. It's like,
That's what you were saying.
yeah.
But I like the ritual. So I do it the night before and put it on a timer so that when I walk out,
It's just
well, it's done. But I look back at myself from the night before and I go, "You're all right."
See, I
Like
clean
I'm happy about the guy who made it for me the night before. I'm like, that guy's pretty cool. Yeah. He hooked me up.
Yeah, I clean the coffee pot. I have this weird thing that I think that like if it's outside the bag, it dries out, especially in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
So like that Black Rifle stuff is sometimes you get it and it's like kind of wet.
Yeah, I got a whole sealed system.
Nice.
But yeah,
I
like
just
that
got
dude
the
who
old
makes me the
Mr.
coffee
Coffee.
the night before.
So what about you? Are you a coffee pour over dude or like what's
Fresh grind in the morning. I brush my teeth, I feed the dog, and I'm down making coffee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but by 4:30 in the morning, that coffee's starting to drip.
Yeah. At one point, I remember talking to you, and you were putting some sort of oils or fats in it, or something.
I was putting
like that.
MCT in it. You know, I've tried, putting ghee or butter in it.
Are you a cream guy at all?
No, drink it black.
Yeah.
Want it strong. You know, I might make it a little too strong for my wife's liking, but
Yeah, my wife won't drink my coffee.
No.
She's like, that's fucking horrible.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, people pour out the bottom with the grounds. I'm like, well, why would you do that?
Right.
That's the good part there.
Yeah. So are you still putting the MTC oil or ghee butter in there?
No.
Yeah.
No, just drinking it black.
What were you doing for that? Just to get some calories?
And the fat and just, good slow burning energy.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed with being pretty much on this paleo diet, that my energy level has gone through the roof. And I think it's the slow burning energy that you get from those fats and that sort of thing, and not having any sort of like carbohydrate crash or anything like that. What kind of diet are you kind of sticking to doing these ultras, and do you work up into a specific diet when you know you have a race coming up?
I don't change my diet all that much. When I was doing, MCT oil and butter and such in my coffee, I was going very high fat. And I try and get blood work done every year, and my numbers were starting to creep up a little bit.
Like cholesterol-wise?
Cholesterol was, starting to get to the higher levels, and
Yeah.
I thought, gosh, I'm active enough, and change some things in my diet. I just try and eat a lot of whole foods. I eat a lot of red meat and meats in general. Breakfast is usually a protein shake. I have been eating more fruits and vegetables. A salad for lunch every single day, a lot of eggs, and just trying to eat whole foods.
Yeah, no, I've been on this pretty much all meat diet. I found it was crazy because I was kind of telling you before we started, but I started the deal with Sean Baker. I dropped I'm down 55 pounds or something now at that point. And some of that is muscle mass. I'm going to say that for sure. So I'm trying to get that back and get some sort of balance with it. But I did notice it was cool because they would have me eat, and I never really realized this. They would, and I've said this before on the podcast, but they would have me eat something for 3 days and just kind of pay attention to how your body feels, your energy levels, almost keep a mental note of it 2 hours after you eat. So I would eat and then set a 2-hour alarm and then log it, right? And I found that eggs don't make me feel as good as having a ribeye or wild game makes me feel the best, you know? So like hunting to me this year was so critical. I was like, I got to get some meat in the freezer. And I totally went through my freezer last year just from being on this diet. But yeah, that's one thing that I noticed was just the difference, even in proteins. Like some proteins made me feel better or worse. And eggs was one of those that I don't feel 100% great on, but it's great to break up the monotony a little bit.
Yeah, and this year when I got my blood work done, I had a food sensitivity panel done. Okay. And red meat and eggs both came back high for me.
Really?
So I've been kind of thinking to myself, do I do an elimination, and do I start to be more cognizant of how those foods make me feel? Ribeye is delicious. I'd eat one every single night.
Yeah.
But do I feel different than if I ate chicken or pork or another protein?
Yeah, and I think it takes some time to notice it, because what they had me do for the first 30 days was eat whatever you want, basically. Just stay away from, only eat meat, only eat eggs, only eat fish, protein, straight up protein.
All protein?
No protein shakes, no butter, no seasoning. Baker was like, if you have to and you're eating ground beef and you need to sprinkle a little bit of taco seasoning on it just to get it down, but he's like, if you can afford it, just eat a ribeye for breakfast and a dozen eggs every day. And I was eating fucking ravenous, dude. I was like, I can't believe I could eat a 2-pound steak in one setting and be fine.
How are you cooking the eggs?
The egg, every way.
Were you
hard boiled?
Have you tried slonking them?
What the hell is that?
Just cracking them and throwing them.
Oh, no. I'm not going Rocky Balboa, dude.
No?
No. I can't do it.
I want to try that.
I did that once on a bet. I told the guy I'd do it if he did it, and he cracked it and popped it, and I was like, oh shit.
That was the badass thing in the 80s. Was it Rocky where he cracks the raw eggs into the...
Well, yeah, but there's been this renaissance of that old school...
Oh, the Liver King?
Well, not him. Well, kind of, yeah. But this old school kind of look at those dudes were jacked.
Right.
Back in the days, what were they doing? And
eating raw meat and stuff. I've seen guys take a full package of hamburger that's just not uncooked and just eating it like it's...
That seems a bit unnecessary, but I don't know. You got to get... But I heard that the eggs are not nearly as bad as you think it is.
Sure. I mean, if you had to in a pinch,
we should do that.
No.
Come on.
I have no desire to do that.
I've done it, so I'm out.
So what was it like?
I don't mind a runny egg a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't bad. I mean, it's down before you know it.
That's what.
Right.
That's what.
It's kind of like oysters, right?
Flavorless.
Flavorless. Yeah. But little Tabasco on there.
Tabasco.
For the next 3 hours, I was for sure I had salmonella poisoning or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's what worries me about meat, especially if it's beef that's bought from the grocery store. You don't know what that shit's been drugged through, or how long it's been sitting on the shelf, or if the sticker's right, or if it got mixed with some.
How many countries it's been sent to?
That's another thing, man. It was crazy. I was looking into buying some elk because I ran out of elk meat, and I started looking into it. I was like, fuck, maybe I'll just buy some, because it makes me, a ribeye makes me feel incredible, but wild game makes me feel 10 times better. I don't know what it is, man. Energy levels, cognitively, just everything. I don't know if it's because I hunted it myself or something, if there's some sort of correlation there, or because I genuinely like the taste of it. But it does taste more nutritious. And when you pull it out of the packaging and stuff, it's just this dark purple color. And I started to notice that in meats. And I was getting some beef from Colorado Craft Beef, which those guys were awesome. Shout out to those guys for hooking me up. But I noticed that their beef, it doesn't look like beef that comes from the grocery store. And I did some research, and they dye beef at the grocery store with beet juice and all this other shit, right? So, and sometimes there's additives in there too. Where did I go? I was so pissed. I went to a Qdoba because it was I was on the road, and I ordered just steak, and I'm eating it. I'm like, this tastes fucking weird, right? Because it has all the seasoning and shit on it. Come to find out, they add flour to the steak to make it fuller. So they're putting just fucking raw flour in there. I was so pissed, dude. I was like, you can't sell this as steak. You could sell it as like breaded steak or fried steak or something like that, but this is not steak, right?
But I think with wild game, you think about an elk around here, like it's living a hard life. Yeah. You're running away from mountain lions and you're surviving cold winters, and there's got to be more power in that meat, right?
You would think, man. And they're just so much faster and agile, and I wouldn't say they're more mean than like a bull, but well, I mean the bulls are.
Yeah,
they get pretty fucking spicy, man. But
I stay away from them in the fall.
And if you've ever hunted elk, man, it's fucking insane. You can glass them on a ridge, and you can get to them. And if you blow them out, or say you wound one and you don't hit it in the sweet spot or not an ethical shot on an elk, good luck fucking finding it, man. They will go 2 miles like that, And you're talking about running over mountains. So they're super athletic. But I don't know, Jeremy, look this up and see like the nutritional facts between like beef, like store-bought beef and wild game. I think it has a ton more nutrition in it. When I started talking to my doctors and stuff after I got the Spectra cell back, because I found my sweet spot is to eat wild game for 2 days. And then I start to feel like a little bit deprived, like I'm constantly hungry, and I think it's just because there's no fat.
Mm-hmm.
So then if I eat a ribeye, it holds me over for that like 2 days or whatever, like a big juicy fat ribeye that has a lot of marbling in it. And then I feel all right. And then I've also been, to get some fat, I've been using beef tallow to like, I'll put my a cast iron like skillet on the Traeger, and then I just sear the deer steaks on it. And you want to talk about fast food. I can cook a deer steak in about, I don't know, a minute and a half, like 45 seconds on each side, and it's pretty much fucking done, because they're thinner cuts, right? But that is another thing too. Since I've been on this diet, I actually went down from like eating a steak medium to where now like I prefer fucking bloody as shit, right? Like it might as well be rare. But
are you gonna eat bull testicles next on Instagram?
No.
Is that what you're gonna do?
No, I'm not. I'm not in. I have had testicles, the Rocky Mountain oysters or whatever. Like
the first hit right there is your difference. That's on a couple of different sides.
Okay, so let's see here. Between elk versus beef, elk meat is lower in cholesterol because it has hardly any fat in it, right?
Lower in calories, it contains less fat.
Yeah. What about like, is there any sort of nutritional facts? That's the thing with it, man. I wonder if anybody's done any
more protein, iron, B12.
Okay.
And then right here it was saying omega-3, CLA.
Oh, okay.
All the good fats. There's more of that in that. So that's probably, if you're just eating that and you're not diluting it with a bunch of other shit like everybody else does, and you're just doing beef, and then every once in a while you slam down one of those elk that you took out of your freezer, you're probably going to feel the difference.
Oh, you taste the difference too.
Well, you're going to taste it for sure, but
there's definitely, you can taste like it's more earthy or whatever, but
yeah, it's gamey.
Yeah.
That's why my wife won't eat it.
Really?
Yeah, she's like,
I've never really gotten that, man. But, like the deer that
it's
I
all
think
delicious.
It depends on where you get them too. Like if you shoot a deer or an elk that eats sage all the time, like I've tasted that before. Right. They taste way different.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you shoot like a whitetail that's only eats corn, they're incredible, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like tons of fat on them, and not just a fat layer, right? Like the muscle density is still like that super dense muscle, but yeah, I don't know. I think I will probably stick to this for life. I mean, that's how good I feel. I don't feel like deprived. I don't feel like I need like sugar or anything like that. So
that's awesome. I walked in and was amazed.
Yeah. I think the last time you saw me, I was at the height of like the worst shape I've ever been in my life, probably. And I was still pretty active, At that time I was going to jiu-jitsu. I was way more active then than I am actually now. Like as far as like, because it was on the back of my mind, like working out at least once a day and then going to jiu-jitsu, sometimes twice a day, you know, and you know how many calories you burn doing that.
Right.
But still, I think a big part of it was just preservatives in food. That's my honest opinion. Because you start eating a lot of processed stuff or whatever it is, even if you're eating healthy, the quinoa or whatever you're getting, you know, I think that there's still some sort of preservatives in it, or some of that shit starts to leak over at some point.
It all starts with your diet.
Yeah.
You know, I always say you can't outrun your fork. And it's, if your diet's not there, it's tough.
And it's not the heaviest thing to lift either, right?
No.
So
No.
yeah, portion control. I think that's been big, but you know, so I started basically bringing it back to that. So that 30 days to get eliminated, what they had me do was just eat whatever you want. And you go through that ketosis of like much more than I did on the keto diet. And that was an issue that I had with the keto diet. It was like, oh, here's a keto cheesecake. So now you're just eating all this bullshit, right? That's like, I don't know, just all these artificial sweeteners and all this crap that's in there. And you can find just about keto anything. You can find keto donuts now, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
keto brownies, like, okay, yeah, I get it. But to me, it's just counterproductive for me anyways. And it wasn't helping me. I think it actually escalated the situation. But I started to get, in that first 30 days, you know, start to get headaches, and it was much worse. Like, I felt like crap for at least 2 weeks. And I was on the ketogenic diet before that, before I started this. So you go through that, and then I was just eating ravenous, right? Like a good 2 meals a day, probably like 4 pounds of meat a day.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy, dude. Like, and thank God to Element, because they sent me a bunch of packets of the salt, and I was using that. That was kind of like my my little like cheat hack or whatever. I would blend that shit up in a NutriBullet and eat it like a slushie at night or something, right? Just so you felt like you were eating like sorbet or something, right? And that's super important that you add salt to this diet, because if you're not adding any seasonings and you're just eating straight meat, you don't have salt in your body, basically, right? You have some natural salts, but you're supposed to get anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 milligrams of salt, I think, a day. I was doing minimum like 2,000. But yeah, after you kind of get over that hump, then you start doing that where you will eat eggs for 3 days straight. And you can eat them scrambled. You can eat them over easy. You can eat them however you want, but just stick to eggs and stick to the same brand, stick to the same, all that sort of stuff, and just kind of log it and notice, has my energy level gone up in that 3 days, or is it depleted? Do I feel worse? And like when you start cutting all that shit out of your diet, if you're just eating and you don't know, and like something could affect you a day and a half later from you ingesting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the time it gets digested, maybe it gets into your colon or something. So you don't really know unless you stick to something like that.
So when you were eating, you were just eating eggs for 3 days? There was no meat in that period? Wow.
No.
Did the salt help your headaches?
Big time.
Yeah.
Salt was huge. And still, I stick to that regimen. I get up in the morning. If I don't have my fucking Element, dude, I'll drive to goddamn Greeley to go get it. Like, I got to have that stuff. And luckily, that stuff's flavored. So, I don't know. I think the only spot where I veered off a little bit or cheated is I did use some seasoning on some steaks once I got down that road. And now I'm not even, because I feel like I have it tailored in, I'm seasoning everything. Like, I don't care. But just buying good shit, right? At least some sort of organic seasoning that doesn't have a lot of bullshit in it. A lot of those seasonings have sugar added to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're fucking pouring sugar on top of a steak, right? So you got to be careful of that. And if you want to stay in that ketosis, you can't have fucking anything, sugar, right? So, and then I've been addicted to these things for the last month or whatever, and I've went back to a protein shake just to break it up a little bit and have something that's kind of outside of it. I think that helps me mentally a little bit too. But yeah, so I did that with eggs. I did it with fish. Then I went to chicken. Chicken's
That had to be a rough 3 days.
Chicken sucks, dude. Get the fuck out of here with chicken, man.
Not a fan.
Yeah. And what else did I try? Then I did beef. I did pork. I found like I have totally this diet totally took me away from pork.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because of the way you felt?
Yeah. Felt like shit. I don't know what it was. Like pork chops. I was eating, what did I have? I had like some tenderloins and pork chops for 3 days. And then there was 3 days where I had some bacon, right? I didn't eat just bacon for 3 days, but I kind of added it. And I was like, I'm not going to do bacon straight for 3 days. And I like a piece of bacon here or there, but even now it's like, I don't know, it ruined it for me.
Really?
Yeah. So it's pretty much beef and game. And then now that I got through that period and all the blood work that I had done came back and there was no vitamin deficiencies, or there was very minimal vitamin deficiencies. I was deficient in B12 and vitamin D. And those are the only two things that I added back. And I added some zinc back, but for different reasons. So yeah, testosterone levels went up. My blood pressure dropped off. I was on blood pressure medication before I went on this diet. If I would have went to a normal doctor, they would have told me I was crazy. Don't stay away from red meat, stay away from high fats, stay away from this, that, right? Cholesterol went down, blood pressure went down, weight went down. I mean, everything just dropped off like a roller coaster. It's fucking insane.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So now that I'm back, I started reintroducing like some berries. I love blackberries, raspberries, that sort of stuff. So I've introduced those back in, no issues. I don't do it on like a regular basis, and I'm not like pounding packages of those now. One, because they're expensive, but two is like I just don't want to veer off too hardcore. So in the morning or evening snack or something like that.
That's where I'll eat berries, is in the evening. If I do feel like something sweet, like a handful or two of blueberries.
Bro, I was a fucking bear in my former life. I know it for a fact because I can eat a whole container of blackberries, like the big one, in one sitting.
Yeah,
like
for
no
sure.
fucking problem, dude. Those things are addictive as hell. Speaking of that, have you guys, I want to watch the trailer. Have you seen this new movie that's coming out, Cocaine Bear?
No, I heard about it just in passing.
Yeah. We should
brother
watch the
just-
trailer real
My brother
quick.
just
I've been
sent it
dying to
me. He
watch
said
it.
it was Ray Liotta's last movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did Ray Liotta died, right?
Yeah, he just died recently.
So he died making this?
I don't know that he died making this.
Okay.
Um,
Coke overdose or? But apparently what I heard is that, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it was kind of based on a true story of some drug dealer that fucking, it says it's a true story there, huh?
What the fuck? Right. Hang on a second.
I'm already scared of bears. I don't need them on cocaine. Imagine if there was a meth bear.
Oh, meth bear would be.
Is that Andrew Schultz?
No.
No, but it looks like.
I know you're getting.
Millions of dollars worth of cocaine fell from the sky this morning in Knoxville, Tennessee.
There's more of this out there. They dumped it somewhere.
I'm looking for my daughter.
Forest is a dangerous place.
Hey, Henry, check it out. Something got into it. A deer, maybe.
A lot of cocaine was lost. I need to know.
It's Henry Hill.
No, don't eat that, don't eat that. Let's see what kind of effect that has on.
The bear, it fucking did cocaine. A bear did cocaine.
There was a bear.
A bear?
It was far.
Hey, that's inappropriate.
You're safe. Bears can't climb trees.
Of course I can. Oh shit.
It kind of seems like the thing that that stays with a man forever?
Apex predator. High on cocaine. Out of his mind.
All right, I've seen enough of this.
Yeah.
I expected something way better.
Yeah.
The bear looks kind of fake. I'm still
Well,
gonna
with
watch
with
it,
a
though.
with a title like that, how can you not expect something better? It's
like a horror comedy, I guess.
yeah, it's
I
like
don't know.
Sharknado.
Right.
That was not what I was expecting.
No. I was expecting something way more dark and cool. Okay.
Ray Liotta's
That was a
so
waste
cool.
of time.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
That was a bummer when he died. He's so cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'll spend my hard-earned money to go see that. at
I'll
the
wait till
theater.
that one comes
Yeah,
comes on one of the streaming services for free.
for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I would imagine that happens with, I mean, some sort of wildlife, right? Especially we had John Norris on. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's written a couple books like Hidden War and look up some of John's books, Jeremy. But he was a California game warden that was just your average game warden. And he ended up fighting cartels. Like,
Oh, I have.
yeah, like taking them down, illegal grow operations. And they were using all this crazy pesticides and stuff. That's a great episode, man. I really enjoyed recording with him. He's a fucking super cool guy. But I know his main book is Hidden War, but he's written a couple others on that same issue. But yeah, I would imagine at some point some bear or some sort of wildlife has been all coked out or
Oh, I'm sure.
yeah, on meth. Like some Breaking Bad sort of stuff.
That's the Alabama Bears.
Yeah.
So
Those Alabama Bears get. Yeah, where was this in Tennessee?
Tennessee.
Yeah.
But it looked like it
Some-
was a grizzly or a brown
It did,
bear.
yeah.
so-
That's a Hollywood bear.
Right.
Yeah. Not some little. They got little bears over there.
Have you seen those elephants that get trashed off of that fermented fruit in Africa?
No.
Oh, dude, it's so funny. You
Pull
fucking-
that up.
You're fucking shithoused on this.
Well, I mean, if you think about mushrooms, you know, like, I'm sure there's a ton of shit out or a ton of animals out there that have eaten psychedelics.
This affluent society has become blasé and bored with life.
Oh, the hippos are on the shit too?
Tobacco basin. They no longer have a zest for living like their country cousins out there in the inhospitable desert. Here, life offers no challenge, and many of them have become slobs and easy riders. The only excitement in their lives comes in high summer when the marula trees are in full fruit. At first, the marulas are very tasty and hard to get at. You have to be either agile or strong.
So is it just the fruit that ferments and then they get wasted off of it?
Waste it. Look at the elephant once it out.
Luscious.
Huh.
But after a
So everybody's wasted.
Everybody's wasted.
Monkeys.
I wonder what's in it. Is it alcohol or
I wonder
Like, is it-
psychedelics?
No, it turns into like an alcohol. Yeah,
so it's just
Really?
fermented?
yeah, it's just fermented. But they're
How does it not kill them? I mean, do you get alcohol poisoning from something that's fermented? Or does it have to be concentrated and like distilled?
An elephant's
I don't know,
huge,
but they're
though.
looking forward to it. From what they were saying. So
Right.
it's like once a year.
Who doesn't look forward to a good glass of whiskey? You know, or
I don't
soda?
know that guy.
Oh, jeez. That's crazy.
That's wild.
Drunk elephant fights. That'd be bad outside a bar. Crazy. That's one thing I've tailored off to is alcohol, man. Like, I haven't been drinking lately, and when I do, I just feel like shit. I think it's just maybe from eliminating all that stuff and then adding it back in. If I have like a glass of whiskey, I'm paying for it the next day. Hard. I don't know.
I notice a huge difference.
Yeah.
it really affects my sleep. I got a pretty good tracker.
What do you use for your sleep tracker?
I've been using a Whoop strap.
Okay.
And it's a ton of great information.
Is it better than the Garmin? I've always wondered that because I have a Garmin, and you probably use a Garmin watch or something.
I have a Suunto watch. And I think it's just a little bit more detailed. Okay. They're relatively close. But I've had 2 different situations where back-to-back nights within a minute of the same amount of sleep. One night with alcohol, one night without. Really? And not a lot of alcohol. We're talking, a glass of whiskey, which, who doesn't like a glass of whiskey? And my sleep numbers on that night where I drank was night and day difference.
Sleep is so important too. I think it's overlooked sometimes. But, man, so what is it tracking REM? It tracks everything because I think my watch breaks it down to like REM sleep. And do you know exactly, like, have you looked into it, what the normal human's supposed to get? And are you getting that, or is it?
I haven't. Well, I haven't, and I'm not a good sleeper. I've always said I don't need a lot of sleep, but I think I need to treat my body in a way to where my sleep is higher quality if I'm going to get 6 hours of sleep in a night.
Yeah, I did notice on this diet specifically, when I only eat meat, my sleep's great. If I add any sort of carb or anything to that, where I veered off a little bit, like I veered off from one of the kids' birthdays because they were on my ass, God, I felt like I drank a glass of whiskey, and it affected my sleep at the same time too.
That's one of the things that I like about the Whoop strap is every morning after it calculates your sleep, it has a questionnaire, and you can tailor that questionnaire. Okay. So it's, did you drink alcohol? Did you, take fish oil? I mean, it goes through
really,
probably 100 different things that you did that day. Did you commute to work? Did you work from home? And then every week and every month, it starts to put that data together based off and give you, this is a detriment or this is a positive for your sleep.
Okay. That's kind of cool. Do you wear the Whoop strap during the day too?
I do.
Do you wear it constantly?
I've worn it every day now for almost a year.
Yeah, I've always wondered about one. I just haven't pulled the trigger. So you the other features and stuff, is it track heart rate variability and all that sort of stuff? Is it pretty accurate?
Yeah, it does. Heart rate variability, respirations. I mean, it gives you a lot of data. And then after a long race, like it'll come back and it'll show me those metrics and it'll be red. My resting heart rate's high, or, if I'm sick, it does skin temperature and it's giving you all of that information.
Wow. Yeah, no, I've always wondered about those. Are they super expensive, if you don't mind? This isn't an advertisement for them either. I'm just trying to figure it out.
No, they're I got the device for free, and then it's a monthly subscription.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's about $1 a day.
Okay, that's not horrible, I guess.
No, and I put my account, suspended my account for like a day, and then I was back online, like reinstating my account.
Right.
Like just got into that routine and that data and, trying to figure
it out.
So
do you base some of your training around that? Like, because I noticed, like, training when you're already depleted or something like that. Are you tailoring some of your training around that data, or do you use some of that?
That was one of the reasons why I suspended my account, because I'm like, what am I really doing with all of this data?
Right.
They sponsor a ton of pro elite level athletes, right? That's their job. So if they've got a workout today that they're supposed to do and they had a poor recovery, they can put it off till tomorrow. I've got to get it in when I can.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I'm not really tailoring my workouts or having an easy day when it tells me I have a bad recovery, because this is what my training plan shows, and I've got to go to work and I have all these other responsibilities. So although I think the data is nice, I don't know what I'm really getting out of it, or am I doing something productive with that data?
Yeah. I got to the point where I just stopped because it became a distraction and it was more time added to my day, like getting it set up. I used to wear a chest strap in the gym all the fucking time. I used to, track it on the watch or whatever. And the only reason I wore the chest strap is because I found the watch wasn't as accurate heart rate wise as the chest strap was.
100%.
Yeah. And then, so now I don't even go into the gym or anything with like turn the watch on. I just go and fucking work out. And I think one person that made me realize that is I've been following this dude, and I don't know if I'm sure he's all roided out or whatever, but he's just, it's Mike Van Wyck or something. Look this guy up, Jeremy, on Instagram. This guy is fucking massive. But he just breaks it down, or look up Wicked Training maybe on YouTube. I don't know. We got kicked off. You watch too many drunk elephant videos. They think you're into bestiality or something now.
You're on a watch list.
Yeah. They're like, he looked up cocaine bears and then, yeah, red flag him. Maybe we're getting shadow banned again too. I don't even know the password. Just go back to YouTube and look up Wicked something. But anyways, this guy, I think his name's Mike Van Wyck. I just want to make sure I'm giving him the right shout out. But or look up Wicked Training or something like that. Yeah. I mean, he was like a former bodybuilder, but his whole thing is like lifting properly and like actually spending the time that you spend in the gym. He's like, you don't build muscle mass, because I've been trying to put back on some mass. He's like, you don't build it by being in the gym for hours. He's like, you build it by working out fucking hard, and your muscle is built on recovery
yeah.
outside of the gym. So he's like, why would you want to be at the gym for fucking 4 hours? He's like, it's pointless. He's like, get in there, work out, and leave and recover, and then do it the next day or whatever you're going to do, So, and just the stupid, I mean, like all the, there's all these workouts, and he's just kind of old school with it. Like, this is how the muscle, it's more of an anatomy type thing, right? So he's showing you like proper, how to stretch out the muscles and get full range of motion in them, so you get the maximum amount of build.
Dude looks like a pussy.
Yeah. He has a physique.
I didn't say that, right? But yeah, he's a Canadian like power lifter or whatever. He's
trying to go.
Jesus Christ.
I'm trying to push out. That's too far. So if I'm a half inch away, I can touch.
But I have noticed, like, I leave the gym a lot more sore by following some of his techniques than I would just going in and doing bench press. Like, there's a whole nother level to it.
Well, I feel like if you're doing an exercise and you're doing it correct,
yeah,
is one thing. But if you're intentional about doing that exercise with good form and thinking about how that muscle is contracting and how that muscle is working,
100%.
I think there's a lot more benefit in that than just, throwing weights around with good form.
Right.
But really kind of being, in tune with what your body and your muscles are doing.
And there's all these distractions in the gym now, right? It's not just the hot girl on the treadmill anymore. Now you have your phone, your earbuds, you got, people in your way. You have social influencers that are doing their thing. Like, if you're working out in a gym, this is why I built a home gym at home. Well, one was COVID in my garage, but like just having all those distractions. So what I've been doing is like, sometimes I'll listen to music, not very often, just like actually trying to be in the moment with no distractions, right? So if you can just put your phone down, don't even have it around you, because it's easy to pick it up, and the next thing you know, you're on Instagram for, what should have been a 15-second rest period. Now you're a minute and a half.
Right.
And that adds a minute and a half to time where you could have been working, like that sort of mentality. I guess I just started noticing things like that. So I try to, when I come home at night, put the phone away so I'm not, on it in front of the kids when they want attention, especially with a 4-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
She always wants attention. And her too.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a savage. But then, at the gym too, it's kind of the same thing. It was like, well, I'm doing this at home. I need to practice this at the gym. So just put it away. Like, I don't care if anybody fucking calls me.
Right.
They can wait 45 more minutes. I'll be done. Right. Then I can call them back. I don't need to check my email right now. And, instead of thinking about like in between, like, hey, I got a resting period, I'm going to look at my phone. It's more about like going through, like, did that feel right? Or what am I going to do next? Like the pre-planning. Right. So that's helped me a bunch too.
I am a big heart rate. I'm always wearing my heart rate strap, and I could be on a run and tell you within a couple of beats what my heart rate is.
I think for cardio, it's good. Yeah, for sure.
And I will never look at my heart rate from a workout, but I'm looking at the week as a whole, right? The higher your heart rate, you're looking at the volume of that week. And I really just look at that of how did I perform versus last week or the week before, and what was my full training load.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I guess I've never really looked at it at a weekly basis. I will wear it when I'm doing like if I'm on the rower or the Aerodyne bike. I don't, because I know what my heart rate does on that fucking thing. But something where I need to keep a pace and I don't fully know on the rower, like, the Mets, sometimes I don't know how accurate those things are sometimes. Like sometimes I feel like I'm exerting a fuck ton and my heart rate's still low. It's like I got to go harder, right? On the Aerodyne bike, I know it's happening, right? Because your arm, everything's moving. And but yeah, just to get into those zones. So yeah, I guess I will wear my chest strap when I hop on that. But as far as like rolling around the gym, lifting, that sort of stuff, I'm just like, it's just a distraction for me. Yeah. What do you got coming up as far as, you ran an ultra this year, right?
I ran the High Lonesome 100 in July. Absolutely just a spectacular race here in Colorado. And then, gosh, I think 2 or 3 days later, I was in the pool,
nice.
Just getting into swim shape for Ironman. I ran a week later, so I went right from basically 100-mile training to triathlon training. So after, the triathlon, I've kind of been trying to enjoy a little bit of an off season. Looking forward to next year. I didn't have any luck in the lottery draws for this past weekend.
So explain that to me. That for the Bighorn you have to do.
Bighorn, you just sign up.
Okay.
High Lonesome was a lottery.
Is that because so many people want to race in that race that they only have enough entries, or?
Yeah, it's permitting.
Okay.
Through the Forest Service or whoever the governing body.
So it's like
is.
A hunting license or something.
Yeah.
You have to have a license to access the area.
So, High Lonesome's 120 some entrants.
Really? That's it.
It's pretty small. Yesterday was the Hard Rock 100 lottery down in Silverton, and Western States 100 out in California.
Okay.
And they're.
Is that something that you put in for every year, and then do you get like some sort of preference points, or is it just like you're fucked?
Yeah, no, every year. So Western States is continuous years.
Okay.
And then the more years, the more tickets you have in that next year's lottery. Hard Rock's the same way, but it's not continuous years.
What do they do as far as like an entry fee? Do you get part of that back, or is it kind of like a hunting license? Like I think we pay like $7 or something to enter the draw, and then if you actually win the lottery or win the draw or are awarded that, then you pay the full price up for your entry fee, or are you just out the entry fee every year?
No, I think all of the 100s have, it's a free lottery.
Oh, okay.
So some, Hard Rock and Western States, you have to run a qualifying race just to be able to enter the lottery.
That makes sense.
And then they'll send you an email if you get selected, and you have a set time period to be able to sign up.
Okay. And then what's the kind of workup into that? Like, you have an ultra coming up. what are you doing prior to that? Or do you start ramping up your runs, or do you try to get 100 miles in before you go on one of these 100-mile runs, like a couple times? Or
It's very different than a marathon, right? If you're marathon training, you're going to run, your 20-miler to get ready for that 26.2 miles. In 100 training, that's pretty tough to do.
Yeah.
Right? You may 6 weeks before run a 50-mile race. But the bread and butter of 100-mile training is back-to-back long runs. So that second day when you go out, you should be fatigued already.
Okay.
So now you're going out on those fatigue legs and teaching your body to continue moving when you're tired.
Got it. Would you start, I guess, how would you do that? You would break it up, because obviously you can't replicate exactly what you're doing. So you would do like a 20-miler and then do a 15 behind that or something the next day?
Yeah, or a 20-miler the next day as well.
Okay. What kind of support do you have when are you just solo when you go out and do these things, or?
No, props to the guys and gals that go out and do them solo. And they have drop bags out there with the race, and they're on.
So they go and pre-drop bags.
The race will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll have aid stations, and some of them will have drop bags where you can pack your own stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
I am really, really lucky. I've got just an amazing group of friends that drop what they're doing and are happy to be out in the middle of the mountains. And it'll be mile 50, and you look down and one of your buddies is taking your shoes and socks off and has baby wipes there and is cleaning your feet for you, which
that's a pretty good friend, man.
I've done for friends before, and that is not a fun job.
Right.
But they're out there doing whatever they need to, just a selfless act of service. You can't do it alone. I need a team behind me, making sure that I have the things that I need, making sure that, that I'm taking care of myself and changing clothes and getting the food that I need. And, you roll into an aid station, you want to sit down, and they'll take your pack and refill it with water, or, get you the food you need, and then get you back out of there. And then normally the second half of the race, it varies on per race, but then you can have a pacer with you.
Oh, okay.
You're usually going.
So some of those guys will run with you for a portion of the race. Yeah.
Yep.
That's helpful, I'm sure.
It's helpful, and they see some dark times. At High Lonesome this year, I had tibialis tendon. Just felt like somebody was hitting me with a hot poker in it. And it started at mile 53. And we had to climb, at least I could climb. We had to climb up to the Continental Divide. And I came in to the next aid station. Just when I saw my crew, I just wanted to quit. And another buddy picked me up, and all we could do was walk, but we just kept moving forward and walking, and just keep trying to work through problems and problem solve, and just keep continuing forward. And then the last 20 miles, I picked up another buddy who was going to pace me, and he cracked one joke, and it was off. And we just threw down for the last 20 miles. Wow.
So that injury that you had, what was it?
It's like a tibialis tendonitis.
Okay.
So on basically the front of your shin bone, just off the shin bone.
Okay.
It's just an overuse injury. And I had a medic at one of the aid stations that asked me if I needed anything, and he looked at it and helped me massage it out, and
so if they give you drugs, you can keep running, or
they can give you ibuprofen, Tylenol. If you need an IV,
your basics.
You're done, right?
Right. And then how long is this? I mean, it probably depends on the course, right? Because some are much harder than others. But what does the day look like for you? Are you getting up at 4:00 in the morning and starting, and then you're done the next day at 4:00 in the morning? Is it a 24-hour period, or how long are some of the times? And
it's anywhere, Some of the faster races, the pros will go 16 hours. You could be 24 to 36 hours.
Wow. And what are you doing for sleep? Are you taking a nap anywhere in between? You're just keep
sleep.
moving.
I've thought about sleeping while running, but at least I was with it enough to know how that was going to end. But yeah, no sleep. If you're sleeping in an aid station, that's the beginning of the end.
And then as far as nutrition while you're on this run, how are you getting, because you're burning an extensive amount of calories. How are you replacing those? Are you relying strictly on what's on your body as far as like fat content? And
you're never going to replace all the calories that you're burning, right? You're going to be in a deficit. So it's anywhere from hydration drinks that have, calories in them, bars, chews. Gels in 100 usually don't work very well for me. Those
are like those squeeze gels that you have on the run, right? If you're doing a marathon or something like that, right? That's what they're designed for.
Yep.
Okay.
Now at Ironman, that I specifically ate gels and pretty much gels only.
Really?
But that's an 11-hour event, not a 30-hour event.
Right. So what are you kind of carrying with you, I guess, at that point? Obviously, you want to be as light as you can, but you're also going through the elements of, could be rain, snow. It depends on the time of year, right?
Yeah, and a lot of races have, mandatory gear and safety gear.
Oh, gotcha.
So you're carrying, some food, some bars. Always, here in the mountains, you're going to carry a waterproof jacket, gloves, maybe a buff. And then there's races where you have to carry an emergency bivvy and a emergency whistle and waterproof pants, or the list goes on and on of things that you'll have to carry. And then I'm always looking forward to the aid stations because they'll have real food. So they'll have bacon. Or I was in an aid station this summer at High Lonesome, and this volunteer asked me, she says, would you like a piece of pizza? I mean, we were in the middle of nowhere, right? And I'm like, yes, I would. She goes, do you want pepperoni or cheese? I'm like, how do I have a choice?
Right.
Like, we're a long way from the nearest road, and you're cooking up pizza in two different kinds. But I went with pepperoni.
Yeah, of course. Got to have some meat on there. Wow, that's pretty ambitious of her to be. What, she having a pizza oven out there?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I had my own issues at that point.
Right.
The next aid station had a charcuterie board, which I probably just butchered the pronunciation
what the hell
of.
Is that?
Like a meat.
Oh, okay,
with like hard bread and cheese,
geez.
Man, it was good.
Yeah. So is it stop for a second, change your socks, and then back on? Is that kind of the
I'll
pace?
usually change socks and shoes once, maybe twice. Really just in an aid station, if your crew's not there, really concentrate on eating real food. Really helps keep
Is that the most
stomach
satisfying
together.
thing in the world when you do that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like getting new tires on the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to, like, on some of those long gigs, I would pack an extra pair of socks, man, and
Isn't
just
that awesome?
like,
Yeah.
if you're working a 24-hour day, change your socks at 12 hours. It's like you're a brand new man.
It was probably 11 or 12 years ago. It was about the time I heard about 100-mile races. I'm running down like a rail trail, right? It's paved. And I see this old guy. And I catch up to him and I start talking to him. And I cannot remember the guy's name, but he had run tons of, endurance events. And I told him that I was interested in running hundreds, and we're chatting about it. He goes, I'm going to give you one piece of advice. When you run one, pack a toothbrush. Oh, in the middle of the night, you brush your teeth, and you talk about a new man. You put new socks and brush your teeth because you're eating sugar. You're eating all this junk all day. And
not to mention what's going on. I'm sure at some points you're getting cotton mouth and all that other sort of like stuff, right? Just from
I always,
dehydration.
After a race like that, my mouth hurts. Like you would think you just want to go and like house Chipotle burritos or something, right? And it hurts so bad.
Just from like the fatigue. Your face is probably fatigued too, because if you think about it, like I know that like kind of the new thing in CrossFit or whatever is to wear a mouthpiece.
I've seen that.
Right? So you're not like grinding your teeth, because a lot of those people are exerting so much all the time that they're starting to have like teeth issues, I think, is another reason. But yeah, I wonder, do they make any sort of running mouthpiece or anything?
I don't think so, but it's more like, at first I thought it was dirt, right? Because I normally just, trail race.
Right.
But I had it after Ironman this year. And it was, it's 24 hours and all you want to do is eat. And like it literally is excruciating. Like you'd rather be out there at mile, 90 again. It's less pain running at mile 90. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, probably just from having because I guess when you're lifting or something, right, there's a lot of exertion that's going on in your face, all those muscles. I never really thought about that.
Yeah, you could be something to do with that, because anytime there's a race photographer, I always have a dumb look on my face.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate it. I hope you didn't want me to buy that picture, because
yeah, you're probably not smiling at that point, right? Yeah. So how many of these races have you done, and how long do you anticipate doing this? I mean, how many are you doing a year?
I do 100 a year. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
I've come to learn I can be back to running after a week, but it takes a full 30 days. Like if you really know your body, you're not right for at least 30 days. I mean, even just from a sleep deprivation standpoint.
Right.
So really one's enough. And, I've talked to my doctor about it, and he's like, there's probably better things that you could do, but one's okay. And that's where, I really enjoyed that Ironman. So I think, that was relatively low impact and, kind of a shorter day. So I'd like to supplement the hundreds with that and kind of lay out my season of, one Ironman and 100. And
does that make, because from going from running a 100-mile race to like an Ironman or just a normal marathon, does a normal marathon just feel boring as shit to you now? Is it just like it's not, or is it just way easier because of the mental aspect of it? Because I feel like, and I'm putting words into your own mouth, to run a 100-mile race, it's got to be, not only is it physically challenging, but I would imagine it's more, I don't think it's more mental than physical, but there's a huge part of that that's mental, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that you want to quit. I want to quit after running a mile sometimes.
I think the mental side of it, if I go out for a 10-mile run, I get to about mile 9 and I'm thinking, what am I going to eat for breakfast? I'm ready to be done.
Mm-hmm.
If I do a 20-mile run or run a marathon, I'm ready to be done at the end of it. So it's where's your head at going into it?
Really?
Hey, I'm going to run 100 miles. It's going to be a long 30-hour day. This year we did, some buddies and I did, a good friend of mine back in the day, he and I always used to say, you should always be able to run a marathon. You should be in marathon shape. If you have to go run one, you should be able to go do it. So I thought about that, and I came up with this challenge, and it's a month of marathons. So starting in January this year, every month, you didn't have to run a race. You just had to log 26.2 miles.
In one session.
And I rolled into the Ironman, and I came off that 112 miles on the bike, and I was like, all I have to do is run a marathon. And that's a sick thought. I mean, it really is. But it almost made it to where it's like, well, I've done 9 of these or 10 of those at that point.
Right.
I can do one more. So it's all mental. And, you talked about friends helping you through a 100-mile race. It's interesting. I've had more and more friends doing 100-mile races now.
It's turned into a whole culture now. I think social media has driven it through the roof.
Yeah, it's not as it's more mainstream than you would think it is. Yeah. But I've been able to see from the other side of a race, and if you're crewing somebody, you're pretty sleep deprived as well. But seeing the looks on people's faces at mile 98, 99. But what's interesting is when you're standing there at the finish and you're waiting for your runner and you're seeing other people finish, they go from looking like death, can barely walk. They get to that last 20 yards and they're running it in, right?
Yeah.
And you really see like there's always something more in there, right? This guy went from hardly being able to walk to sprinting across the finish line.
Sure.
Then they cross the finish line and then they're back to that death state. But, it kind of showed me you're really not done.
If you dangle that carrot,
Yeah.
right? If there's some sort of incentive or something right in front of you, you can change. I would imagine that some of that is like an adrenaline dump, right? At some point, like,
I'm
my
sure.
God, I finished this or whatever, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of emotions at the end of the race like that.
Sure.
Well, you saw Hunter just did an Ironman, right?
No, I totally missed it. I actually need to reach out to Hunter.
Yeah, and he's like, he's a yoked dude. Like, to do that, he's carrying a lot of weight.
Right.
And I think I read, I don't know, it was on his Instagram. I think I saw a story or something. But he was like, he didn't really train for it. He completed it. He didn't like break any records or anything. Oh, I can't even get into your fucking Instagram. But the last run, I mean, he was starting to break down. Like, he was just like, he was charging right through it. But he was like, talking to somebody, I feel myself breaking down. This is what's happening. Yeah. Oh my God. I should have prepared better for this.
I should be better at that, man. I've kind of taken a break from social media, so I apologize, Hunter, if you're listening to this. We love you, buddy. It's
he
not
just
that.
did his. I don't know where it was though. I was trying to look it up before to see. They go on all over the place. I'm sure it wasn't the same one as Jay, but
Yeah, I don't know, man. Lately I've just been over social media. Like, there's nothing. I don't know if it's my feeds or the algorithms that I'm getting. I love seeing my friends. I love seeing them do stuff, but it's like I'm starting to get all these ads when I'm scrolling through it, and
Christmas.
I have to be on it for the podcast and for my personal stuff. So I do have some sort of responsibility for actually being on there from a business standpoint, right? So I have to be on there for some things, but it just, fuck, man. Like, there's propaganda on there now all the time. Like, a lot of the people that we've had on this podcast are former operators and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's because I'm following them that I start getting all this shit about Ukraine and then some of it's like, oh, nuclear threat or this or that. It's like, fuck, man. I don't want to look at this. So I'm only looking at it at certain times in the day. And one thing I noticed before you came in, I was trying to get some, pre-production stuff for the podcast for this one. And I noticed you're not on social media anymore. What's up with that?
There was just no good in it for me.
Right.
I thought it was me. I thought I couldn't find it. I'm like, come on, you idiot. He's right here.
No.
I know you've seen him before. All right, good.
No, boy, it's probably been a year and a half or so. Right. It was just a time
I remember
suck.
you went off, and then I was like trying to search it again. I was like, oh yeah, he dumped his account.
Yeah,
a while back.
There just wasn't. It's just a waste of time.
Right.
Like, I have better things to do.
Like, you're not trying to be one of these influencers or anything. Like, you're pretty set in life. You know what you like to do. Like, and one thing I love about you is you're not a guy you're very humble, right? You're not a guy that's like, this is what I do. Like, you're not, like, I have to pry information out of you, Jay.
I'm not good enough to have any influence or,
I beg to differ, but
well, there's a lot of people out there that do what I do.
I mean, you inspire me. So I think that there are some good qualities in social media on that side. The inspiration, the letters that we get, like even being on this, right? The feedback that we get, like, oh, so-and-so is so awesome, or thank you for having them on as a guest. I learned a lot about X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a ton of that. And I think social media has inspired me to do different things.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people out there that are inspiring on social media. I've got a close group of people. We live in a small community, and I feel like I have an influence on those people. A good friend of mine, my first 100, I lost a pacer 2 weeks before the race. Long story, I ended up calling a new neighbor of ours because my wife had run with the wife of that household. She's like, she was pretty strong. So she agreed to pace me. Had no idea what she was getting herself into. She did 17, 18 miles. I don't know. I tricked her with ultramath because, you round down this number and up this number. And she said, yeah, I'll do it for you, but I want you to get my husband in shape. And they just moved here from the East Coast. That was 6 years ago. And this September, I paced him for the last 31 miles of his first 100-mile run.
Wow.
Across the finish line, I looked at her, I said, hey, that debt's repaid. I don't know anything anymore. But to have an influence over somebody like that who, if he's down 40 pounds, just a completely different lifestyle, and to have an effect on somebody that you love like that, I like my close circle, and I'll have, I always tell people I've been a bad influence a lot of times in my life, but now I just try and be an influence for good. And, I feel like I have a bigger impact on that close circle of people in my life.
No, you've had an impact on me. I mean, me knowing you and being around you and having our kids play soccer together and stuff, I was like, fuck, man, I should be in better shape, like I should be in shape like Jay.
Well, 15 years ago, there was a different Jay.
Really?
Yeah. 15 years ago in September, my wife and I got married, and we got pregnant on our honeymoon, stepped off the plane, got home, jumped on the scale, was 252 pounds.
Really?
Today I'm like $180.
And how tall are you?
I'm like 6'5".
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm 6'5".
Yeah,
I'm
I
pretty
forgot. Tall. You're taller than I am.
And when we found out we were pregnant, like I knew I was unhealthy. And that was the catalyst for me to change.
Yeah, having a kid is a fucking eye-opening thing, right? Like that was the biggest thing with me, like taking this drastic change. It was like, okay, everything that I've been trying for the last fucking 5 years is not working. Like I want to be around for my kids. Like I need to really take this serious and like seek help.
And you want to be a good influence on your kids.
100%.
My son just ran his first half marathon. That was a goal that he set back in January. It wasn't a race. It was just him and I out in the trails. If he wanted to walk a hill or walk a flat, didn't care. We had snacks, and he went out and did it in like 3 hours.
That's awesome.
But you see him on the soccer field, and I'll see his coach ask him if he needs to come out. He's like, no. He'll come to me after school. Hey, Dad, can we go down in the gym and work out? Yeah, buddy, we can. Right? And for him to
you don't ever want to be
that
that guy that's like, I'm too tired to go do this
right.
or that, or not today, or it's too cold, or because there's a million excuses, right? And if you start ingraining that in them, that's one way I feel is like I try to be as active and proactive as I can too. Like, hey, you want to go shoot your bow, or
right.
what do you want to do today?
Well, left to their own devices, they're going
right.
to be on their device, right? Like,
yeah, 100%.
And even my kids and the way they eat. I've spent a lot of time talking to them about their diet, what it does to their body. Not from a thin standpoint, but from you need to fuel your body if you want to be good at dance like my daughter, or if you want to be good at soccer and basketball. But you can't just tell them that.
Right.
This summer we were watching the Tour de France, and my son looked at me and goes, hey, Dad, I think you'd be beating all those guys. And I had to laugh, right? They're the greatest cyclists in the world. Like I'd still be back at the start line. But for them to look at you that way,
yeah, that's awesome.
And be able to go out and play soccer and basketball and, because it's not uncommon to go knock out that 20-mile run, and you still have to be a dad the rest of the day.
Right.
So you've got to treat your body in a way, and hopefully everybody else sees that as well.
Yeah, and I think that it's super important too. Like, one thing that gets lost in being a parent or having an outside job, maybe you're not even a parent, maybe you got a dog, is taking care of yourself first is hard before taking care of others, right? It's that whole, like, when you're on the plane, you're supposed to put your mask on first, right?
Yep.
So that's one way to look at it too. And that's one thing that I struggled with. I still struggle with that today. Like, I always want to please somebody else before myself, but I've definitely, I think that that's a definite struggle. Do you find that at all? I mean, being around, like, there's only so much time in a day, right? There's only so much time in your lifetime. How do you kind of balance that and with what you're doing? And
it's those morning workouts. It's fitting it in where I can.
Getting up before they're up.
Yeah, I mean, getting ready for Ironman, it was, run at 5:30 in the morning, and everybody's in bed by 9, and you're down on the bike trainer in the basement riding for an hour,
right,
or an hour and a half. It's sneaking a quick lifting session in at lunch. It's going to the pool at lunch.
Yeah, you can eat your lunch on the clock. I used to do that all the time.
I can hour work lunch.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I can eat in 5 minutes and work out for 55. So.
Jay, what was the first step that 250J did? Like, what was the first step that you took?
Started running, because I had dabbled in running before, and then I had a couple of injuries, and just got out of that routine, and then really started kind of learning more about the nutrition side, and that's been quite a journey, and learning, because there's a lot of bad information out there, and it's easy to get sucked into some of those beliefs.
Some of those influencers too, right?
Exactly.
Some of them don't always have the best information, or some of them are like portraying, we brought this up in the last podcast, some of them are portraying certain things that's like, it's not smart.
I've had a saying, listen to everybody and follow no one, right? Because we're all different, and just because a diet or an exercise plan works for me, it's not going to work for everybody. But still listen, get that information, vet it, and maybe even try it. But everybody's got to find their own path.
That is so true, especially and diets are such it's almost like a little cult, right? Like, whether you're vegan or keto or this paleo thing, there's the whole war going on against vegans and the carnivore people. You know what I mean? And it's ridiculous. It's really fucking stupid, honestly. And I think that was kind of one of the coolest things with all the doctors and nutritionists that I've worked with. And they were all, everybody's different. These guys work with pro athletes all the time. So it's, not every pro athlete's the same. Some of them eat this for their diet. Some of them need more of this. Some of them need this to feel better. Some of them need this to function better cognitively so they can strategize better. Like, there's a whole science that goes behind it. And I don't feel like there's a lot that's been figured out, but on an individual basis, you can't go take a DNA test. Well, I mean, maybe you can, but I think a lot of what's out there is bullshit. You can take a DNA test and tell you exactly what you need to eat and what time and when. I think a lot of it is figuring it out for yourself and what makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of grabbed onto that elimination diet. I was like, okay, the proof is in the pudding, right?
And I think a lot of people don't know how they should feel.
Right.
Right. They're not in tuned enough with their body.
Yeah. You got to go through a hard reset to figure that out. Yeah. And I don't think that your body is probably used to certain habits too, right? Like, if you decide, okay, I'm going to deprive myself of sugar, and you're not really depriving yourself, But like say, okay, I'm going to cut out sugar. I'm going to try this for a week. Your body is still adjusting.
Right.
Right. So maybe you're gaining weight now because your body's like, what the fuck is going on? Right. Like, I think it takes longer periods of time to figure something out, like 90 or 100 days.
Yeah.
Like try to go to the gym every day for 5 minutes for 90 or 100 days and then figure out how has this affected me?
Well, everybody wants a quick fix now.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to follow what this influencer says because they look good with their shirt off.
Right. And I feel like more and more we're dialing it back. And it just goes back to, did you look up that Wicked guy's training? What was his name? Is it Mike? Mike Van Wyck or something? Yeah. Just like, and that's one thing is he's like, there's all these influencers doing all this crazy lifts with these crazy cables and upside down rows and all this sort of stuff. It's like, no, man, just fucking pick up the bar and lift it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you guys are getting bored with the normal, but this is it. Like, this is what you need to do to be successful. You're not gaining anything by doing this, by holding one dumbbell and curling the other one.
Right.
He's like, that muscle's not active at all. And it just makes so much more sense, you know? So I think thinking about it from an outside perspective too, a little bit like that. It's more time and work, right?
Yeah. And just back to the basics.
Consistency is huge too.
Yeah.
You should get your head tattooed.
How about the throat?
There
You know,
No, just the head.
the old Mike Tyson face tattoo. That was a classic. Does he still have that thing on his face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
He's a savage. That guy is hilarious, though. Have you seen any of his stand-up or anything?
Tyson's?
Yeah,
No.
he does like stand-up comedy and.
No, but I saw that him and Holyfield are putting out ear-shaped gummies,
Oh right, yeah.
which is like,
They're weed gummies, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, like they're what a marketing like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I saw a meme, or somebody sent me this, and it was Steven Tyler, and they like photoshopped a Steven Tyler Mike Tyson, and it was Steven Tyler. I was fucking dying laughing, dude. Hilarious. Yeah. So, what do you got coming up next, Jay? What's on the horizon?
After no luck in lottery draws this weekend, it's kind of trying to figure it out now.
Yeah.
Next year I might try and do a flat, faster 100. Every one I've ever done's been in the mountains with 16 to 22,000 feet of climbing in it. Be kind of cool to see if I could see how fast I could go.
Yeah.
You know? I'd like to say that I've done 100 in under 24 hours.
Did we talk about the last time you were in? I mean, that was 2 years ago. Can you believe that? The last time that you were
that
in
was
here?
crazy.
Dude, it's gone by so fast. Had you done the rim to rim by then? Or I didn't go back. I should have went back and listened to it, but I can't listen to my old podcast or I get really discouraged. You should go back and listen to it. I'm sure that you were great in it, but
I think I did rim to rim in 2019.
so it was pre-pandemic and we
Yeah.
started, I wonder if we talked about it, but for people that are listening to this now, because that was so long ago, you ran the Grand Canyon from one rim to the other in a certain spot, right?
Yeah, so you normally start on the south because you're doing it usually early spring. We did it early spring. So the south side is still open year round. So you start on the south side and there's two trails. There's South Kaibab and blanking on the other one. Bright Angel.
Maybe we can look it up.
It's
Okay.
Bright Angel.
Jeremy's got it.
And
Now, is this like a common thing? Is this like kind of like
it's
like it's on a
become pretty
Strava
popular.
or something like that where it's a popular run?
Yeah,
or
it's
something
pretty.
like
It's pretty popular. You run down to the river and then you run back up to the north side, which is closed. You get up to the north side and there's a sign that says, "Do not attempt to exit this way." It's like 38 miles to the nearest service.
Oh, really?
So by the time
So you have to come back.
you
no
have to
matter
come
what.
back. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're going rim to rim to rim.
It's eerie over there. So you refuel and you turn around and you run back and you do it again.
Wow. How many miles was that?
I think we went down Bright Angel and then came back up South Kaibab, and it was 47 miles.
Okay. And are you experiencing like the burros coming down the trail and the whole like that sort of stuff, or is it more of not a touristy spot?
In the mornings, they go down South Kaibab,
Okay.
and we went down Bright Angel.
Because those trails are not as big as you think, right? Like,
no, running across one of those mule trains would be horrible.
Yeah. I mean, as far as running, there's not a whole lot of like safety rails or anything like that, right?
No,
like,
there's nothing. Like maybe up at the parking lot, there's a safety rail or so.
Right.
And especially over on that north side, like you fall off, you're done.
Right. And you're running across this.
And you're running across it.
Right. So I would imagine going down would be the real issue, but coming back up, I don't know, there's more stability there, right? Do you find that like running uphill as opposed to downhill? Because a lot of those 100-milers that you're running are in the mountains, right? I mean, you're going over the Continental Divide or at elevation.
Yeah, you know, running downhill, you're going faster.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're worried about a trip and fall and falling off a cliff, you know, it's probably going to be going downhill. You know, a race that long, a lot of your climbs, you're going to hike. It's more efficient, and it's almost just as fast.
Really?
So, you know, it's less effort and you're moving fast.
Because you can keep a faster pace,
You
right?
can keep a faster pace.
Yeah. Because I would imagine like some of those spots, I mean, do you guys ever do you ever get into like a climbing situation at all? Like where you're on all fours at some points to get over something, or is it typically?
No, not
Okay.
really. I mean, some, you know, adventure runs where you're just out training in the high country with buddies, you might run across. And there are people that, you know, are doing more of that kind of stuff, but it's not necessarily a run at that point. It's, you know, more of a scramble.
Okay. I was just wondering with some of those trails, because what is the most hardcore 100-miler out there in your opinion?
Here in the States, it would be Hard Rock here in Colorado.
Okay.
Down in Silverton. It is, I mean, the cutoff is 48 hours. So you have 48 hours to complete the race. I mean, I think we'll look it up here. I think it's 33,000 feet of climbing. You summit a 14er.
I don't think people realize how much elevation climb that is too, because the air gets thinner as you go too. So it gets harder, right?
Yeah. I mean, where we're sitting, you have 24% less oxygen at sea level. And we're at
66,000
at this
394 elevation change.
Wow.
Yeah, so you
so at
33
8,000
of
feet, you have 24% less. Is that what you just
So
said?
here at, you know, we'll call it 7,300 feet.
Sure.
You're about 76%.
Really?
Yeah, so 24% less oxygen than at sea level.
So it's only got to double by the time you go to 14,000 or 13, right?
Yeah, you know, I looked at that not too long ago.
Or does it not drop that low? Jeremy, see if you can find something like that, like some sort of scale that shows, what would you look up? Like oxygen depletion based on elevation or something
do
like
oxygen percentage at elevation.
Okay. Wow, I didn't realize it was that much. 24%.
Yeah.
Huh? Wow. How did you figure that out?
My watch tells me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not that smart.
He's running.
So
it.
that's one thing that your watch tells you.
It's just going, yeah.
Okay.
It's just going off the elevation.
Oh, here you go.
Wow, at 1,000, it's 20. Oh, wait a minute. What are we looking at?
Effective oxygen.
Effective. I don't know what
What
effective.
does that mean? It was probably in all these paragraphs that I just skipped past.
Right.
Yeah.
Sea level. Huh? No, that's pretty wild though. I didn't realize it was that much.
I think, and I'll be wrong here. Effective oxygen.
No, it's the same thing as the other chart.
Huh? Maybe I need a new watch. I thought it was tougher.
Well, still,
than what it
those
was.
numbers are pretty high, right? It's still within 14. Wait a minute. This doesn't make sense to me.
It's going in the opposite direction. of
It
what I
is
think.
going in the opposite direction.
That's my brain working, so that doesn't mean much.
All right. Well, we'll have to figure that out later.
Anyway, it sucks
sucks.
at elevation.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. You don't need any sort of fucking chart or anything to know. Once you get above like 10,000 feet, there's a drastic change. And even, I mean, people get sick coming here, like to Evergreen.
Yeah.
You know what I
100%.
mean? Like I've seen people passed out on the sidewalk. I'm like, what's wrong with you? And they're like,
Dude, try driving.
I don't know.
Either of my cars up over.
Oh, yeah.
Upland Pass.
Exactly.
What, are you kidding
Anything
me?
that's carbureted or yeah.
Not even carbureted.
Yeah, but it like
but
carbureted
for sure.
or like a
Yeah.
dirt bike, you have to change the jets
The
in
jets,
it
you
and
gotta
all that
change
sort
them
of
out,
stuff
yeah.
and the carburetors and yeah.
Yeah, it's no joke. That's why, like, when we go on the road and we spend like a month, like, I always bitch at you about this. I'm like, I've been in Florida for 3 weeks. And I
Oh
come back-
yeah, and then you
I
come back.
home and I'm like, I feel like I just got my ass kicked.
Yeah. I notice
we're
it
just
for a
excited.
couple days too. Like
Yeah.
if I'm gone for a certain like a good 10 or 12 days and I come back and I tell you what, I notice it the first couple days that I go to sea level, I'm a fucking rock star, dude.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah,
go
dude.
drinking,
Let's go.
whatever you want to do, you know, like let's party. I don't need sleep or anything,
Nope,
you know.
nothing.
So,
That was at Cozumel at the Ironman.
Yeah.
Like there's so much oxygen down there. Yeah, I remember at the end of the swim, I was pushing pretty hard. And because I started the swim real slow, kind of eased into it. And then I was like, what am I doing? Let's go. And I was moving pretty good and a wave hit me. So I couldn't get the breath on that when I went to breathe. And I was like, no problem. We'll get it on the next one. It's fine. Right. Like,
just because you're so oxygen saturated,
there's so
right
much
at that
down there.
point. Yeah, that's wild. Those guys at the gym that I don't know if they still do this because I think they're starting to have problems. But there's like oxygen training masks or altitude training masks that they used to wear,
yeah.
like at fight gyms and stuff. I was like, these guys are fucking crazy, man. You know, you're already exerting that. I don't know if that can be good for you.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Right. I wonder if they're still making those or not.
Eric would weigh in on that one.
Right. Yeah, there's a huge difference, man. But I'll tell you what, one thing that really fucks with me, even like living at altitude or something, if you get humidity and heat mixed together, like South Florida or something in the middle of summer where it's 95 degrees and 95% humidity, that air is like, that shit's fucking hard to breathe.
It's
I think.
almost work to take the air in because it's so thick. Yeah,
And
I
it
get the
feels
same
like you're
thing.
cooking from the inside out, man. You might as well be in a steamer at that point or something. But I've always found that to be like worse conditions for me as far as like feeling. And maybe it's just because I'm used to thin, dry air or something like that. But
And I was surprised before I left to go to Mexico for that race. My last run here, it was 8 degrees. And then I went down to Mexico and it was, high 80s, heat index of like, feels like 98. And it really didn't affect me. But early this summer in June, we were on a family vacation down in Florida. And first morning I went for a run and wore a shirt. And I'm like, I'm not doing that for the rest of the week. Like, I'll go run, but there's going to be no shirt involved.
right.
But it is tough to breathe.
Yeah.
How awesome does your skin feel when you go to Florida and Mexico?
I don't know, man. Like there's
I love it.
that opposite. Like I don't mind having moisture, right? Like my fingers right now, just because I've been outside so much and stuff lately,
I know.
and it gets so dry, they just start fucking cracking.
Oh,
and
it's hard.
like if you're working with your hands at all,
Yeah.
you're fucked here.
My feet will start cracking, like
Yeah.
my heels.
Oh, I
it's
have
so
to use
painful.
I use that O'Keefe's like
Mm.
it's like a hand cream and stuff, but they make one for your feet. Dude, that's a fucking game
Really?
changer. If you have problems with like cracking feet or something like that, that has changed me big time. Like I put that on religiously in the morning. When you put on anytime I put on socks, I put that on first. And it's a pain in the ass, dude. It sucks, because it gets all over your hands and shit. But
if you don't, like those cracks take a long time to heal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to the point where at jiu-jitsu, I bought some like jiu-jitsu like booties because I was bleeding all over the fucking mats, dude. Like, and that's bad enough there, but that and it covers up some ugly feet,
That's how I maintain distance. My feet. People are like, "What is wrong?
What
with
happened to you?
What is that
running?
That man has talons.
Yeah, try marrying a ballerina, prima ballerina.
Yeah,
you want to talk about fucked up feet, man? Like, those girls.
Yeah,
you don't marry a ballerina for their feet. That's for sure. Yeah, I love you, babe. Jay, let's wrap this up, man. This has been awesome. We've been at it for almost hour 45 minutes, and it's getting kind of late.
There's a time warp in this place.
Oh, there seriously is, man. Time just flies by. But dude, it's been really awesome having you back. I would say go ahead and drop your social handles, but there isn't any. That must feel good.
There aren't any. I'm on Strava.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, just.
Are you still training people too, or?
I am not.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and drop the Strava.
So it's just Jay Steinberg. Look for me here in Evergreen. We're big buckle bandits. We're out there training every day and just having fun and supporting each other, and got a great group of friends here. So I really appreciate all of them and everything that we do for each other. It's super special. So
yeah, that's awesome. Great network up here. Jay, thanks for being part of this too, man.
Thank you.
I always
appreciate
love having you, and yeah, I'll be seeing you. I see you around all the time. Not as much anymore as we used to because our kids were on the same soccer team and all that sort of stuff. But
yeah, my daughter's dance has changed, and it's I usually see when I'm going to the high school to drop somebody off, and you're coming in here.
Yeah, I'm always in here. So, Jay, thanks, man.
Thank
you. Really
you.
Appreciate it. Always enjoy having you, and love having you as a friend, bud.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
See ya. Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. Also, if you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com.